on the Newman Jets Audio Network. This is the Jetcast, the official podcast of Newman University Athletics, featuring exclusive interviews with coaches, players, administrators, and more. The Jetcast podcast is brought to you by Ascension Via Christi, Donlinger Construction, Pizza Ranch, Mel Hambledon Ford, Eck Agency, Dr. Brennan Lucas and Advanced Orthopedic Associates, Keystone Solid Surfaces, Big Corner Creative, and by Pepsi. Here's the voice of the Newman Jets, Blake Cripps.
As the professional tennis season winds down with the Labor Cup and the end-of-year finals, collegiate tennis is actually just getting started. So we're going to hit the court here on episode 74 of the Jetcast. The Jets were just in regional action last week. They've got one event remaining in the spring season. And to discuss it, we will welcome, now in her 19th year with Newman Jets Tennis and her 16th year as director of tennis, Shella Augspurger. Shella, always a treat to have you on the Jetcast.
Thanks for having me, Blake.
Well, 19 years.
I know.
I think that you might be the dean of women's coaches here at Newman University.
Does that mean I'm the oldest?
That means no. It means you've been here the longest.
Okay.
Doesn't mean not necessarily one or the other, but you have been here through a lot. What's it mean to you to almost have 2 decades with the Navy and Red here in the books?
Yeah, it's been a good journey, and it's been fun. It's been fun since we started it. I mean, from when they just restarted the program. I was here the year after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you spent the first couple of years as an assistant, and then came on full-time, and then obviously 16 years as director. What do you think has been the biggest area of growth for this program over this near 2-year span with the program?
Oh, the level that we started at versus the level we are now is amazing, and it's really cool to see the players from the past come to watch the matches and go, whoa, were we that good? And they were at the time, but we keep getting better and better. So
well, let's focus here on the present. It seems like every year you have this little fall schedule, and it always seems like it is just a sprint at the beginning where you've got matches every single weekend and then a little break, maybe 1 or 2 in October, November, and then you've got the long break. What's it like in that early part of the year when you're playing every single weekend, and what do you think is the thing that you're looking to get out of the team at this point in the year?
Well, usually the fall is just trying to get everybody ready, and like last year we had 7 boys. I think we were new, so it was, and some of them come from clay courts. If they're international, they're not used to playing on the hard court, and that's a big adjustment. So it's nice when they come in the fall because they can take the whole fall to get ready for the spring. We had Andrea last year came in the spring, and he'd been on clay, and it took him almost a month and a half to get adjusted to the speed of the ball. I mean, it's faster anyway in college, but when you start playing on the hard court versus the clay court, it's a big adjustment. So that's usually what we use the fall for, trying to find some different doubles combinations, just get everybody in competition mode. So then I can find what we need to work on individually. So once those matches and tournaments are over, then we have those individuals where we can work on things that I see in their matches.
Obviously, the rise and popularity of hard court tennis in America has kind of pushed some of the other surfaces out to the side, so it's kind of hard to find clay courts here. Obviously, the U.S. Open used to be contested on grass once upon a time, no longer. Are there any MIAA schools that don't play on hard courts? And do you wish that maybe you guys did have, would it be fun for the players to have an event on the clay? Or would that be, obviously, for American players who are not used to playing on the clay, that might be a little bit of a challenge?
Well, it would be fun to have different surfaces, I think, to see if the same schools that are really good on hard court would be just as good on clay or grass. Or I think even just this past weekend when we were playing the ITAs, we had to play some matches at night. Well, some of the kids had never played under lights, so it was really a problem. So I think it'd be kind of fun to add that, different element into it, but I don't think it's going to happen. But well, hard courts are easier to take care of. So
that's kind of how we do things here in America. Whatever is easy. So far, has it been easy for your Jets to take care of these matches? And just talking about the fall season, do you like what you've seen from the men and the women? How do you think they've performed here in this first month of the year?
I think we've done a really really good job. There's some really tough competition in the Heartland. I mean, sorry, MIAA.
Talking about being here for 19 years.
Yeah, sorry.
It was the Heartland for a long time, but not anymore.
And I was just talking to the lady over in the archives room.
Sure.
We were talking about the Heartland, so sorry about that. The MIAA, the competition is so good, and it was nice this weekend to really see who was all in the region.
Sure. And you played some of even when we were in the Heartland Conference, you were still playing these MIAA schools on a fairly regular basis.
Yeah, that's why I was excited about going into the MIAA, because we've been playing them for the past 10, 15 years. And I know the coaches very well, and it's a really good group of guys, girls, coaches that they really help each other, and that's what I was excited about. But after seeing them this weekend, I think we've got work to do.
Sure.
But it was hopeful because a lot of the kids last year were freshmen, sophomores. Now they're sophomores and juniors, and then some seniors. So it's completely different than last season.
Specifically this past weekend, which happened to be at an MIAA site, not an MIAA event, but the Broncos of Central Oklahoma hosted the ITA Central Regionals down in Edmond, Oklahoma last week, hosted by UCO. What did you see out of the men and women in that event at the regionals?
As far as our competition?
No,
or
in
as far
terms
as
of how
us?
you guys played.
I thought the boys did really well. I don't have a full girls team right now. We have a couple of girls that are going to be playing in the lineup that are not here till spring. So it was just more of, let's just get some experience in for the girls that are here. The boys is pretty set. I was very pleased with how they played, especially Gustavo, Gil, Luca. Istvan is a new player. He transferred from West Liberty College, and he surprised me. I didn't know that he was as good as he is, so that's going to be a good addition to the men's team. He's a very good doubles player, and I think that's what we were missing last year is we had 5 good doubles players. We needed a 6th, and I think he's going to fit in there really nice.
Coming up here on this episode of the Jetcast, we will talk with a French woman coming up here in a little bit, Marie Brunet, who is playing singles and doubles for this Newman team. And we'll also be joined by Asher Brown, talk some cross-country for the Jets here in a little bit as well. Looking at your team, you mentioned that on the ladies' side, you don't have a full team yet joining at semester or in time for the winter season. How common is that? And do you have any concern? Obviously, you wouldn't be bringing them in if you didn't think that they were going to be able to integrate to your team and into your program. But is there any concern about bringing someone in the middle of the season like that and trying to fit them in to what you and the ladies who are here are currently building?
It's always a question when you're bringing anybody in, because you think you recruit them for that you know them pretty well, but then until they get here, you don't really actually know.
Even if they're starting in September, you have the same concerns, don't you?
Yes, but yeah, it is. Some of the schools in Europe and other countries don't graduate till December. So a lot of them will wait until August to come, but then some of them want to come right away. So that's what the situation is with this. So I'm hoping one of the girls is from Italy, which is where Andrea and Martina are from. So I'm hoping that she'll feel comfortable because we already have a couple kids from her country, and that she will adjust quickly.
What's going to be the important part about making that adjustment? Because, in the way that we do our schools, you're either going to be playing in the fall, or I think the girls are playing in the fall, maybe boys play in the spring, or vice versa here in Kansas. Mm-hmm. But in high schools, you're either playing fall or the spring. Then you've got the summer vacation. Can train a little bit more. Maybe you're going to school early. You can get in touch with the coach. But in that situation, they're going to be playing, what we would at the high school level tennis in Italy. And then without any kind of a break, you're coming directly into college tennis. How big of a challenge is that going to be?
It's a big challenge. We saw it last year with Andrea. He got a little frustrated because it was like, I'm better than this. And I was like, I'm fine with you. Just keep going. I know it's going to take a while. So I think me giving them time to do it. And I know that I don't want to put the pressure on them, but they put the pressure on themselves. So I'm kind of like the buffer to say, hey, it's going to take time. And then once they get it, it's fine. But I think it's hard because you're trying to prove yourself to the coach and to the team that you do know how to play, but you're not playing as well because it's an adjustment. So it's a bunch of stuff going in at one thing. So it's fun though, because it's fun to see once they get it, then it's like, oh, okay, I was making it harder than it really was.
Give us a couple of leaders, ladies, and then the men who you think are going to be your most consistent players this year in terms of getting you those points in those MIAA duels.
Well, senior Isabella Bifano, she has had a really good last couple of tournaments. She's gone pretty far. She's been every year it's something. We had COVID. She was here. This is her 5th year, so she was in the COVID thing, and she's using her 5th year to play. But she has 1 year she'll work on something and then it doesn't go right, and so I think she's got it together, and I think she's figured out that she was making it harder than it really is, and I think she's had some success this fall, so I'm really looking forward to see what she does this spring, because she could really help us. A lot of the younger players are Divya, who is going to be a senior. She was the transfer last year. I think she's starting to come along. She had some things she was dealing with too, but I think she's trusting me now, and she's trusting the program, and she's now relaxed, and she's really playing well.
What about on the guys' side?
On the guys' side, we've got 3 seniors that are in the lineup. Gustavo, Jared Nowak he's coming along too, and Pedra is a senior. He was the transfer last year. I'm senior heavy on both sides, and usually that's when you do much better in your seasons, when you've got a lot of seniors. So I'm hoping that that's what will happen with the leadership and with the effort. They're all very hard workers, so I think that'll transfer into.
Now, if I recall correctly, women are playing straight MIAA schedule, but the men's tennis is kind of administered by the Great American Conference. So you guys will be getting ready for the GAC season there. So talk us through MIAA women's tennis and then GAC men's tennis, which in the Great American Men's Tennis Conference, there are a lot of all the MIAA men's tennis schools play in that. So who do you think are going to be the favorites for the MIAA women and the GAC men?
Well, we saw them this weekend, so that's what, that was kind of nice. On the men's side, I think Washburn, Southern Arkansas is always good. Washburn is really good. Northwest Missouri State. They were in the semifinals and the finals of the regional tournament. So and I think Washburn on the girls' side, they're just loaded this year.
Okay.
And the whole conference is really tough. So
Sure.
I mean, we're just trying to keep working and just trying to keep up with them. So
Marie Brunet is going to be our next guest, and she is playing some singles, some doubles for you this year, a 3rd-year member of your program. What does Marie bring to this Jets team?
Experience. She's a very hard worker. She has been since she got here. She's a good teammate. She's a good leader. And she works hard, and so she's a good example for people to follow, and I just love having her on the team.
Midwestern State coming up October 14th and 15th at Wichita Falls, Texas. Is this a duel? Is this a tournament? What kind of an event are you planning on the Jetson playing in, and what kind of competition will they face down in Texas?
It'll be mostly no, they're Lone Star now.
Yes.
Heartland went to Lone Star.
Yes.
So it'll be most of those teams down there.
Okay.
That we used to play.
So
against.
some old Heartland
Yes.
Conference rivalries, the Lubbock Christians, the St. Edwards, the St. Mary's of the world. St. Edwards, St. Mary's. Unfortunately, I don't think that any of your players probably don't have any knowledge of those rivalries. Just another team, isn't it?
They were complaining the other day because we had a 4.5-hour drive, and I was like, "Oh, you don't know what it was like. We used to have to drive 12 hours to go to a conference tournament. I mean, just a conference match."
I think it's
so.
Well, I mean, Joe, obviously she's been here, and me, you, Joe, Coach Allen, Coach Brown. Man, am I missing anybody else? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that I am. The one that I am missing will probably say, I can't believe you forgot about me, Blake. But, yeah, it is a little bit different, isn't it?
Oh, it's definitely different, especially driving the van. I mean, I used to have to drive it 12 hours after we played.
Sure.
And trying to stay awake. It was hard, but, now 4 hours, 5 hours, that's nothing.
Oh, easy breezy for sure. Final question for you. You've got just this one event left, then a long off season, obviously. We'll have you back in the winter. We're going to have a men's tennis player on here in the next couple of weeks or so. So look forward to that on a future episode of the Jetcast. But where do you want this team to be, men, and women in order to set themselves up to have the kind of spring season that you expect to have this year?
Well, I'm hoping that they'll work hard in the individuals. We do weights, a couple times a week, and we do conditioning, and we still have individuals. We also do a lot of community service now, well, once the fall season is over. So I hope that they develop a bond that will help them when they go and compete against other teams. I'm hoping that over the Christmas break they will all be ready to come back in, because the majority of them are in places where they can hit tennis balls somewhere.
Sure.
I don't have too many cold weather winter players, but most of them are inside. But I just hope they come back ready in shape and ready to go, because we only have 2 weeks before we have to play the first one.
One name that I should mention that does and is quite aware of the Heartland Conference road trip would be Cam Clark. Cam Clark's made more than his fair share.
we don't want to leave him out.
Baseball and basketball. He'd be a good candidate to be. I don't think he's been on camera. Might have to get him on for the Jetcast. Once again, last event of the fall season is Midwestern State, October 14th and 15th. You can get all the updates. The guys behind the camera will have you covered at newmanjets.com. And it's Newman Jets. What are you guys on Twitter? Is it Newman Jets MTEN and WTN, or just Newman Jets Tennis on Twitter?
I don't remember.
They had Newman Jets 10, so they cover the men and the women's team on one Twitter account, and obviously you can find them on Facebook as well. So keep track of all the Jets in the Navy and Red with Jet Power, the hashtag Jet Power on social media. They'll get you all the updates. October 14th and 15th, Wichita Falls, Texas. Good luck against Midwestern State and all those old Heartland Conference teams, and we'll be sure to have you back on as we get set for MIAA and GAC play here in the spring.
Okay, thanks, folks.
Marie Brunet will join us next as we roll on.
Can you land the best Jet Swag, the official online store of Newman University Athletics, and NewJetsGear.com. The store features the greatest variety of Jets logo gear anywhere, from latest clothing styles and hats to Newman-branded lawn chairs and office supplies and more. NewJetsGear.com is your place to purchase sports-specific, alumni, parents, and hard-to-find Newman merchandise. Shop right now on your computer or phone. NewJetsGear.com, or click the Shop Now button at NewmanJets.com.
Back here on the Jetcast as we talk some tennis this week on the show. We are joined by a junior from Paris, France, Marie Brunet, as the tennis teams start to wrap up their fall portion of the schedule. Of course, there's going to be plenty more tennis coming up on the back end of the schedule once they get restarted in the spring. So we will bring you that, of course, in February when they get restarted. We have got Marie Brunet on the show here now with us. Thank you so much for being here, Marie.
Of course.
ITA Regional for you guys and the team last week. How do you think it went for the team, and how do you think it went for you personally?
I think so for me personally, I won my first round and I lost on the second round of singles. I think I could have done better, but I was already happy to win the first round because it was not an easy match. And doubles, we passed the first round by, we had a bye on the first one, so we didn't get to play, and then we only had one match that we lost. But it was all right. We played good. And for the team in general, I don't think anyone won their draw. But
she's looking at Coach Augspurger off camera for confirmation.
Yeah, but we were all pretty happy about how we played, I think.
Now, obviously, you guys, I know I'm not as familiar with the fall portion of the schedule, but I do know you guys will play a lot of duels against teams. This is a different kind of event because you are playing more of a traditional tournament, a draw where there is a bracket and you move through. How is the preparation, and how do you mentally think about it different when you know that there is an event and you're going to have multiple matches against multiple opponents versus showing up and, well, we've got Washburn today, so I've got to beat whoever I'm playing against from Washburn? Well,
the different thing, what's different from the fall is that until the moment we get on the court, we don't really know who we're playing against. I didn't even know the school of the girl before I got on the court, so in the fall, if we know that we're playing Washburn, we're okay, it's going to be a tough match.
Of course.
We can win, but it's going to be tough. But for those ITA regionals, the individual ones, I had no clue who I was playing against. I knew her name, but I had no clue who he was. So I was like, that's it. It's just like a random girl, and I can beat her as I could beat anyone else.
Sure. You've had a very interesting time to start your career as a tennis player, because this is kind of like the only normal season that you have had, because you had 2020 come in, so much stuff being canceled last year, still not really back to normal. This is the first year that it feels like there's the protocols have continued to get less and less, and maybe still not. Coach Augspurger, again off camera here, would probably say maybe it's not quite where we were, say, in like 2015, but it seems like it is getting a little bit closer. What's it been like for you to play your tennis career during this interesting time in our history and obviously in sports history?
Well, first it was very different from back home, so everything was new. So I couldn't really compare it to like the years before. But I don't know, we just had to adapt to everything, and yeah, I just went with the flow, I guess.
So this is your third year on the team.
Yeah.
So how do you feel like, even though this is a individual sport, obviously here in America at the collegiate level, it's kind of blended into a team concept, and you have been an underclassman for the last couple of years, but now obviously looked at as a little bit more of a leader. How have you adjusted to that and that new expectation?
Well, that's another thing that is different from back home in France. Here, everything is about the team, and I really like it. Like at home, I just play I sign up for my own tournaments, and I just go by myself. Or
is there can you explain to our listeners and the viewers, do you got in France, and maybe it's different? I'm assuming that, like America, you have some sort of division of the country where we have states, Canada has provinces. I'm sure you have, there's something, maybe there's not, I don't know. But how do you guys kind of organize your secondary school, or what we call high school, activities? So
one thing to know is that in France, and I think most Europe is like that, there is no sport that is part of the high school thing. Like you go to high school, and then if you want to play a sport, you have to be in a club, like in a tennis club.
So it's pretty much all, if you want to play soccer, you're in a soccer club, basketball, so on and so forth.
But your high school doesn't care what you're doing. They're not gonna adjust your schedule for that. They're not gonna make sure you're doing good with both. That's why it's pretty tough to do both. And so you're kind of by yourself. Of course your coaches are helping you, they're coaching you and telling you what tournament you should play and stuff, but you basically do it all by yourself. So
very, very different, obviously, culturally. Why do you think that you prefer the American style, at least in collegiate tennis, of being more team-oriented versus most of tennis, which is obviously, with a few exceptions, is all about the individual?
Well, I think it's just more motivating. You're not doing just for yourself. You know that if you win, it's gonna bring a point to the team. If you lose, of course, it's not a big deal, but you're gonna be disappointed because the team is gonna have more effort to do to win the whole match. So
you just spoke of being motivated. Obviously, Director Augspurger is the person who is in charge of motivating you. What's it been like to be coached by Coach Augspurger these last 2 years? And again, she is listening inside the room, so I'm not sure how much honesty we're going to get here, but what's it been like to be coached by Shella?
I'll be really honest. I won't need to lie about it, because she's an amazing coach. She's always really motivating us at practice. She's always pushing us, and without being strict or anything, without being too mean, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, she's always making sure we give 100% of what we can. And if one day we don't feel really good, because it happens to all of us, she's not gonna make us die, but she's gonna make sure we give all of what we can.
Now, I know that at some different seasons, and it kind of depends on the kind of team that she has. If she's got a lot of returning players and she kind of knows where everybody fits in, then doesn't need to tinker as much. With a lot of newcomers, she will move pieces around a little bit. How consistent have you been? Because you have been playing singles and doubles. Have you been kind of with the had any consistency with playing with the same doubles partner? And how has your relationship been with your partner this year?
So my partner for now in the few tournaments that we've played was Martina Lally from Italy.
Sure.
And I was not playing with her last semester at all. I mean, I played once, I think. Devia used to be my partner. But Martina, like, she's my best friend on the team, and she's my roommate and stuff, so it's pretty easy to adapt playing with her.
Sure.
I like it.
What do you feel like, how do you guys kind of blend your individual strengths to make yourselves the best doubles team that you can be?
I think, like, we have different, like, we have different approaches of the games, which is good. She makes sure, like, if I get mad of a point, for example, she makes sure I keep, like, focusing. But then she usually, like, she's not very confident about herself, so I'll help her being confident. Like, we kind of help each other with that.
Would you say that you are a better singles player or doubles player, or do you enjoy both of them the same? And which one do you like better?
So I would say that I'm a better singles player, but I enjoy doubles better.
Just because of that camaraderie?
Yeah. I mean, even with Divya last year and Isabella my freshman year, I don't know, I like doubles better, but I feel like I'm better in singles.
How do you feel like the team is coming along in terms of chemistry so that you can try to have the kind of spring season that you guys want to have?
I think it's going pretty good. So we don't have any new player for this semester. I think 2 of them are coming next semester, probably. So we know each other very good, and the chemistry is pretty good.
So final question for you. You've got a couple tournaments coming up here to finish out the fall. What do you need to do yourself, and what do you think the team needs to do to have a good end to the fall year and get yourself set up? Obviously, going to be plenty of off-season workouts, off-season training to get set for, I think you guys start back up in February or so.
Yeah.
But how do you want to go out, whether it's win or lose, what do you feel you need to do in order to end fall on the right note and set the tone for what you want to accomplish starting in the spring?
Well, keep practicing hard, keep, like, giving 100% at every practice, and never, like, be down on ourselves. Just keep being motivated.
Once again, they are headed to Wichita Falls, Texas, October 14th and 15th next month. Midwestern State is hosting. Marie Brunet from France, thank you so much for your time.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. We will have more Jetcast coming up right after this. Wrapping up the Jetcast, and we're going to try to go fast here, but not too fast. We did catch up with Asher Brown 5'8" sophomore cross-country runner out of Wichita who's already got a couple of records in the record book. Asher, thank you so much for being on the program with me to wrap up this show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, you have been really, really good. The men, 20th last time out at the Southern Stampede, led by this guy who led the team. How do you feel like you guys ran as a team?
Yeah, I think we ran really well overall. I had a personal best that race, so I ran very well. I was very happy with my time, very happy with my race. For the other guys, I was really happy with how they did. Everyone ran really well, ran their hardest. It was a hot day, so some people might have ran slower than what they wanted to run, but overall, just really, really good day.
You guys got third as a team at the Hutch Twilight. How much confidence did it give you to get a top 3 finish under your belt that early in the season?
Yeah, they gave us a lot of confidence, considering that last year I think we were like 5th or 6th. So, and then we also had some other D2 colleges there, so it was nice to see some guys that were going to be racing the rest of the year. That definitely gave us a lot of confidence going into the season.
Now, you have been a guy who has come in, and even though you were just a freshman last year and a sophomore, you have not been shy about putting your foot forward as being kind of the guy on the team, and you've run the best times. You, as we mentioned in kind of your intro, been breaking several records. What's allowed you to kind of have that confidence to come in against more experienced runners and put your foot down and say, you know what, I am the best guy?
Definitely just proper training. Good training is going to give you confidence to race well. In high school, I didn't really have too many guys that I was able to push, faster runs with, but coming to Newman, having some other guys, Austin, Zeke, and Kevin, they're all right up there with me, pushing me. So that's helped a lot in terms of confidence.
Yeah, you mentioned Kevin Kamalmal, and he has been a guy who did nip you at, I think, the previous event. He actually did outrun you.
Yep.
How much does that help having a guy, because obviously you guys want to run together and run well as a team and support each other, but at the same time, you don't want to let somebody else beat you, but it seems like you guys are working really well together.
Yeah, I think most people, having a teammate that you want to beat come out on top would be bummed out, but I was super hyped for that, just to know that there's another guy right there with me. So hopefully we'll have a really strong top 5, especially a really strong top 2 with me and Kevin. So.
Changing weather. It's been getting a lot cooler during the day. Coach has said that, there have been some times when you guys have waited literally for the sun to come up just so you can see where all the cracks on the sidewalk are, so you don't break an ankle or twist something, and then you have to run just because in the afternoon it's so hot. How nice is it now that the temperature is actually pretty decent here this whole week to run, and maybe you don't have to wake up quite as early? Yeah,
it's great. Being able to just go out in the afternoon and not have 100-degree weather is really nice. And then also in the morning, running when it's nice and cool, 60 degrees, 65 is it's pretty brisk whenever you first get out there. You need a jacket, but once you get warmed up, it's perfect weather.
What's it like being coached by Coach Shepis?
It's great. I really like his coaching style. He doesn't try to overload us with miles. I see a lot of guys from different colleges. They're running insane amount of miles a week, and I like how Coach just likes to keep us in a good mile range to where we're running fast but staying healthy at the same time. I also like his speed workouts that he gives us. He likes to incorporate a lot of intensity rather than volume, so I really like that.
Because he's also, when he was on the show last week, he talked about the guys that put in the miles are the ones having success. So how do you balance, and how do you feel like he's balancing maybe not giving you as many miles, but obviously you still have to put in the work if you want to have the results. How do you feel like he's balancing that's putting you in the best position to have success?
Yeah, and that's something really difficult with running is you need to put in a lot of miles, but at the same time you can't put in too much just to stay healthy.
You got to have something in the tank for the race, don't you?
Right. And then so overall I think we've done a really good job with running the right amount of miles and staying healthy. We haven't had too many problems with injuries this year yet, so that's really good.
Well, what do you think has been the thing that you've been focusing the most on your own personal race and in your own personal game that's allowed you to make the improvements that you've made from your freshman to sophomore year?
Just kind of my mentality going into the races, and then especially during. I noticed that last year, kind of like, 2 miles, 1 mile left, you're not feeling it at all. Like you're feeling terrible, and so your brain's telling you to stop, but you just got to tell it to keep on going. So that's been something that I've really been working on this year.
Last question for you. Next up is the Chili Pepper Run. This weekend, you're going to be facing foes from all levels of cross country. There will be a heavy dose of Division II teams there, and I know that that'll be what you guys primarily mark yourselves against, but there's going to be SEC teams there. There's going to be Big 12 teams there. How do you get jacked up when you see, some of those logos and some of those names across the jersey that are going to be lining up right next to you? And, at that point, you're just one of the guys.
Yeah, it's super exciting to be able to go out and race some of the top dogs out there. So kind of just the focus going into the weekend is not get too overhyped by it. Just try to stay calm, not get worried that, you're going to be like towards the back, but just, know that there's going to be great competition everywhere.
They're at Newman Jets XC on Twitter. Once again, it's the Chili Pepper Run down in Arkansas, where they'll be racing up against the top elite of the elite. And there are some really good programs in the SEC and the Big 12, but also some of the top tier Division II conference teams there as well. Asher Brown, 5'8" sophomore runner from here in Wichita. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
That is our show. Next week on the program, we'll have even more guests. We're going to be going back to volleyball next week. So if you'd like to finally meet the assistant coach for volleyball, he will be on the show next week. So until then, Blake Cripps in Wichita saying, go Jets.